Right, okay guys, welcome to another look at a video. Now, if you watch my channel, you will know that I am a big classic video game fan, and I like nothing better than being able to play all the classic systems on handheld systems. Now, I have done a video, I'll put a wee link up below, of the GPD-XD and also the NVIDIA Shield Portable. Now, however, there is a far cheaper alternative, and that is the original PSP. Now, you can see there, this uses what you can actually do now. The memory cards for the PSP were ridiculously expensive, but through the wonders of science, you can get this little adapter. It's about £2 on eBay, and there's space for 2 micro SD cards, as you can see there. You can put in one, or else I think you can put 2 in, but I think they've both got to be the same type of card and the same capacity. If you put 2 in, what you then do is you go to the system settings in the PSP and choose the option to format SD card or memory card, and that then makes it one card. Once you've done that, you cannot take the card out, so you can take it out, but do not remove the SD cards, or else you'll have to start again. But yeah, I did have one of these and I got rid of it quite a few years ago, foolishly thinking I'll never want one again. But fortunately, I've managed to pick up one for a really good price. So this is just a basic overview of just letting you see some emulators working. This one here is the PC Engine. Apologies now about the pretty blurry camera work. When I was recording it, I mean, that one doesn't look too bad. When I was recording it, it looked super sharp. But then when I was watching it back, I realised that it was a wee bit blurred, but I could not be arsed recording it all again. So it just gives you an idea of just how good a little system this is. You can see there it's playing R-Type. That's the PlayStation, the PC Engine version. I mean, it really does. This was my go-to portable emulation solution for many years, until I got, what did I get? I got the I got the PSP Go, which is a smaller sort of clamshell, not a clamshell, it's a smaller version, but it's not as good. It's just not as good as the original PSP. I mean, the form factor of this console is really nice. You know, it's the analog stick which I'm using here isn't the greatest, but I think it's got a slightly bigger screen, and it's just so much more comfortable. So yeah, I got rid of the PSP maybe about 3 years ago. I don't know why I ended up buying another one. Yeah, I started to use my PSP Go and realised that it's just a bit on the small side. So I had a look at getting a PSP, one of the original ones. So this particular one is the PSP 3000. I think there was quite a few different models. The original one, the 1000, is it was the original one. It was quite heavy, really nice, probably the most solid of all the models. Then they brought out the slim version, which is this one here. It's slimmer, it's lighter, it's quite a bit lighter. It's probably half the weight of the original one, but it's got a glorious screen. So this is the BBC emulator. Now, one thing that I like about this over the GPD, any of the Android ones, this can emulate computers, I think, better than the Android. I mean, this is a BBC emulator. I don't think I've ever actually got a BBC emulator to work on an Android. So yeah, this does systems better than Android ones, if that makes any sense. You've got to fanny about quite a bit. You know, it's not a plug and play. You've got to be able to mess about with options and that kind of stuff. But it's no different from the Android ones. But yeah, the great thing about the PSP is, I mean, this particular model I'm letting you see here, I was lucky enough to get that for 20 quid. £20. I got that last week for 20 quid, and that included a case and some games as well. You won't get one for 20 quid. Well, you might, but you know, you'll quite easily get one for you know, 20, 30, 40 quid. Now the GPD still sells for, I think it's about 150 quid. The NVIDIA Shield Portable they're harder to get because they're no longer made. So a PSP, you can, you know, get yourself a couple of SD cards, micro SD cards. Get yourself one of the little adapters. You probably get you can probably get a couple of SD cards for probably about 30, 40 quid. One of these is £25. The great thing is you can also play ISO games. I mean, this particular one you're looking at just now, I have got, I think there's 80 games, 80 PSP games in it, plus all these emulators as well. So really, you know, for it is insanely good value for money. You know, if you're wanting to get yourself a portable handheld, then you don't have to spend a lot of money. You know, if you've got 20-30 quid kicking about, get yourself one of these. It is superb. And I think, is this the NES or is this the 7800? I think this is the Atari 7800 emulator I'm looking at. You can probably tell I did the video. I recorded the video and I'm just doing the overlay now, the voiceover. But yeah, it plays systems really well. I mean, the PSP I don't think is anywhere near as powerful as the Android devices. They're almost a lot newer. I mean, the PSP I think now, it's 10 years, no, is it 13 years old? I'm sure somebody told me it's 13 years old. So as far as technology goes, it is old technology, but it does an absolutely cracking job of emulating most of the classic systems. It's not great with N64, you'll see that later on. I mean, I've included that as well. For MAME arcade games, it's not the best. You can still play games, I mean, again, I'll let you see it working, but for stuff like the Megadrive, the SNES, the NES, PC Engine, even the computers, it does an absolutely cracking job, it really does. So that is the NES emulator. No, that's the 7800 emulator, I beg your pardon. Right, this next one is the Amstrad, and again, I'm not aware of an Amstrad emulator for Android. So again, this one does stuff that the Android devices doesn't do. This is actually really nice. So you just go down to load disk. Give me a wee second and let's pick a game. Can't remember what game I picked. I think I do. I think I'm looking for Chase HQ. Like I said, you need to be able to, it's not plug and play, you need to be a wee bit geeky like myself to use these things, how to set them up. I mean, setting them up is as simple as putting the folder into the game folder which resides in the PSP folder, if that makes any sense. But there's plenty of videos that show you how to do this. It's dead easy. So there you go, this is Chase HQ. Right, it's asking me for, what I need to do, it's asking me if I want to do a cheat mode. So yeah, it's got this little convoluted keyboard thing, virtual keyboard. So let's see. Yeah, that's not the best, these kind of things. But you know what, once you get used to it, it's second nature. There we go, there's the game starting. And again, like all these emulators, you can mess about with the screen size and filters, and you can, I think you can make it run quicker if you want it as well. Oh, it's asking for another key. There we go. Now, if you've never seen Chase HQ in the Amstrad, it is one of the finest 8-bit conversions ever. That and the Spectrum, it just had, the conversions of Chase HQ in these computers were absolutely blinding. Apologies about the sound. Obviously I was recording it on my phone and the sound doesn't come across too well, but you can take it from me that the sound is absolutely fine in all these emulators. But yeah, I mean, it amazes me just how current a PSP is now, even in the year 2018. It is still an excellent little handheld. I mean, there's, I don't know how many thousands of games there are. I mean, obviously they don't make games for the PSP anymore, but you can quite easily, using Google, download ISOs, and then you just literally, you just drag them across. What you need to do is you need to put custom firmware on the thing. Now I think if there's not a video on YouTube, well, there's plenty of videos on YouTube, just do a search, custom firmware PSP. Basically there's a couple of files that you put on a memory card, and then you run it to begin with, and it basically, it does a soft mod. But I'm not technical, I managed it dead easy, but like I said, there's plenty of videos out there that you can follow. So there's Cauldron. So it's really nice being able to play these systems on the go. And the screen in the PSP is really, really pretty, really nice. It's a blindingly difficult game, that. Probably one of the hardest 8-bit games ever. Yeah, that's Cauldron. Right, the next one I'm going to look at is Fuse, which is the ZX Spectrum. Again, a lot of the emulators have got different interfaces, but I'll let you see here how it works. This one here, you've got tabs along the top, and you just press the shoulder buttons to go to the option you want. So I'm going down to Game, and then you browse to your SD card. So this is a tap file. Now this is Horus and the Robots, which I'm going to try and load. Again, there's options built into the emulators where you can speed up the emulation, or you can have it loading at real time. I think I've just got it set to real time. But that is sometimes part of the appeal, I think. Just checking the joystick. As I say, it's been a long time since I used the PSP for emulation, but I'd actually forgotten about just what a cracking little machine it is. I mean, if you're on a tight budget, it's by no means the best handheld emulator system. You know, the GPD, I would say, is better, as is the NVIDIA Shield Portable. I mean, there's quite a few of these Android tab handhelds you can use, but as a cheap option, it is fantastic. It really is. You know, you're not getting much more out of an Android one, and you're going to be paying what, probably three, 4 times the money for it. So if you're on a tight budget, this is the way to go. And there's plenty information and technical stuff. There we go, Horus and the Robots. Right, arse, it looks like it's been configured for a different joystick. Not quite sure where to go and change it. I don't know. Anyway, let's try a different game. Nah, it's obviously say. I think Horus and the Robots defaults to Kempson. Apologies for diving in and out of the options. Like I said, it's all new to me again. It's been a long time since I had a PSP and I used it for emulation. Right, let's look for Attic Attack. But you know, even just for playing PSP games on, it's wonderful. I mean, the PSP was a super powerful computer, handheld. It was a way ahead of its time when it came out. I think it's pretty much a PlayStation 2, you know, power wise. So you know, the games look really, really nice. Yeah, some of them have obviously aged a wee bit, but by and large, the games still look really nice, and the screen in that thing is glorious. So there you go. There's some handheld Spectrum goodness. That's why I kind of laugh at this Spectrum Vega 2 thing, whatever it's called. People are getting all upset about it. Why don't they just buy a PSP and just stick a Spectrum emulator on it? You've got it. There you go. You're getting it for 25 quid. You're not getting pissed about with these arseholes who came up with the Kickstarter and then proceeded to take about £500,000 worth of people's money, and they got nothing back. Again, you can change the screen size and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the Spectrum one. That plays well. This next one, this is the Game Boy Advance, I believe. I was just a bit too quick in going into the menu there. Yeah, I think this is a Game Boy Advance. So let's go across to the right, and you come back across to the left. Right, what game can I play? Alright, let's try Contra. can't beat a bit of Contra. Some of the games have got these little pirate intro things you can just press a button to escape past. There's a familiar Konami sign. I don't think I've actually played this particular version very much. I mean, I love Contra. I love the original Game Boy one. So there, you can see there just how lovely that looks. I mean, it looks way better on this screen than it did on the original Game Boy Advance. I mean, the Game Boy Advance, the original one, wasn't backlit, and unless you had really good light behind you, you couldn't even see the damn thing. So yeah, it plays this system brilliantly. I mean, I would even say that if you just wanted to be able to play consoles, you know, classic 8-bit consoles or 16-bit consoles like this, then a modded PSP is the way to go. You know, it's by far the cheapest way to do it, and it does a cracking job of it. So that is Contra. Right, next one. Right, this one isn't particularly good, but I'll let you see it anyway. This is a Nintendo 64. I mean, Nintendo 64 is not a system that emulates particularly well. I mean, I think they've now finally nailed it on PC, but I'm not a fan of the N64. Even the real hardware, I'm not a fan of it at all, so it doesn't really bother me. But I just wanted to let you see how it kind of plays. It does play games pretty slowly. This is Cruisin' World, which I believe was actually written by Eugene Jarvis, who did Robotron 2084. So you'll see in a second once I get going. Yeah, it is very slow. Saying that, it is smooth. You know, it's nice and smooth, but it's just slow. I think most of the emulators have options to you can increase the speed, you know, the clock speed, which will play the game a bit quicker. I mean, it's by no means unusable for the N64. You could certainly play it, but the N64, the thing for me is that the N64 had this real specialist joystick, and trying to replicate that, I think, on any system without using the original joystick just really, it doesn't work for me at all. It looks like this particular ROM that I picked, the guy's unlocked every single star. So yeah, it's going a bit slow here. Yeah, I mean it is usable. Just don't expect the best one. Right, next one is the NES. The emulator's called Nestor. Right, first one we'll try Donkey Kong. Plays absolutely fine. Whoops. It appears using the analog stick chain actually made it look better. The analog stick for this emulator seems to change the screen size. So it does this one absolutely fine. I love a bit of Donkey Kong. Pity I'm rubbish at it. It's an excellent version, it really is. I remember playing this particular level on my Commodore 64 back in the day, and I just thought it was impossible. I thought it was absolutely impossible. I could never get past that thing that bounces. But when you've actually played it a few times, you realise it's actually not. It's quite an easy screen, this one. You can get to the top really quick. It's got to be quick. Yeah, that is that's the NES. Like this next one is the Sega Megadrive. It's called Pico Drive, I believe. Now it does also emulate the 32X games, but I couldn't get them to work. When I was trying them, I was just going to a dark screen. I'm sure back in the day I used to play them on this, but I couldn't get them to work. But there's so many different emulators out there. You need to be aware, whatever model you get, if you get the original PSP, it's called the FAT, P-H-A-T, FAT original, or if you get the slim one. So there is different emulators for different systems. This is Revenge of Shinobi. This is a great game, this. There are also emulators for the Atari ST, the Amiga, the Intellivision. Is it the Wonder Swan, the Neo Geo Mini? I've not bothered with them. I'm not too fussed about sticking these on this. But again, the PSP does an absolutely cracking job at emulating the Mega Drive. I can't say I notice any slowdown or anything. The scrolling's nice and smooth. It seems to play at full speed as well. One thing that I need to mention, the PSP was never really renowned for having a particularly good battery life, but that's because the PSP, the original games came on what were called UMD, and it was basically little discs that plug in the back. Now, because it's a physical drive, that's obviously going to drain more power, but because I've got all my games running off the SD card, then I mean I've been using this PSP for about 3 or 4 days now, and it's still got battery power. So the battery power is a lot better because you're not using UMD. So there you can see there, that was Sonic. It plays wonderful. Right, next one is the SNES. Again, there's tons of different emulators for the SNES for the PSP, but the one I've picked, excuse me, seems to be one of the most popular. Right, I'm just going for a generic game, Mr. Nuts. I know some people say that the PSP isn't quite up to speed for emulating the SNES. I don't know what things like Pilot Wings or Mario Kart, how they run, but you can see here, nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's a pretty looking game, but it's got a dull game to play actually. So yeah, that is the SNES. Plays wonderful. Oh, I'll tell you what, let's catch myself here. So let's just take a look at Street Fighter 2 on the SNES as well. Since this is quite a fast-paced game, I thought I'd let you give you an idea of just how it actually runs. That's the worst of doing the voiceover. I couldn't remember what part of the video was coming up. So this is Street Fighter 2 in the SNES. Again, it plays absolutely fine. There's no slowdown to speak of. So I think it could just be a couple of games that may not work particularly well. But again, I think you can adjust the clock speed of the emulator. But I've got it set to the default, and you can see there it plays absolutely perfectly. Like all emulators, you can configure keys and that kind of stuff as well. You can change them, though most of them just work out the box, so to speak. Right, next one. This is the classic Atari 2600, or the Atari VCS as I called it back in the day. I didn't know what a 2600 was. It was Atari VCS. Right, the game I always show off my favourite game in the VCS is Pac-Man. Let's go. Oh, I think I've loaded the wrong game. Right, load ROM, Pac-Man. There we go. That should be it now. Again, I can probably make the screen a bit bigger. It's slightly small looking, but yeah, it plays absolutely perfectly. So for some 2600 action on the go, then you're sorted with this. This game comes in for a lot of criticism. I actually quite like it. It was the very, very first video game I played at home outside Pong, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing ever. So I've got a lot of fond memories with this game. I didn't actually own a 2600, it was my mate. I borrowed one. Now, the last emulator I'm going to show you is Master Boy. This emulates Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Master System. Slightly odd that it emulates two different types of company systems, but it does. So let's go for Game Boy, and I'll go for Tetris. Once again, the screen really does this game proud. It just looks beautiful. And it plays really well with the gamepad. The analog stick in this thing isn't the greatest. It's functional enough. I'm not a big fan of it, but I quite like the keys. I think the keys are absolutely fine. Or I'm saying keys, it's a gamepad type thing, but it's more like 4 individual keys. Fantastic game, that Tetris. Never did complete it. You get the space rocket. Never did complete it. I really need to try and fix that. So that is a Game Boy, and let's try a Game Boy Color game. I've got absolutely no idea what this game is. Some sort of drive one, I think. I only owned a Game Boy Color for a few months. I think I got the Game Boy Advance, and then I gave this away actually. So I'm not overly familiar with games in the Game Boy Color. Well, that's actually quite impressive actually for a Game Boy Color. I would always say that was more a Game Boy Advance game, but yeah, that's actually quite smart looking. So again, you can see there, it does a cracking job. It's actually quite playable, this. Right, and the last system on this particular emulator is called is a Sega Master System. So let's have a look at Enduro Racer. I think the Master System is the only version to use the sort of isometric viewpoint rather than the into the screen one of the arcade. But it's actually it's a really nice version. This it looks good. Plays really well as well. I actually just sold my Master System recently. It wasn't one I was actually using because it emulates so well in other systems. I thought there's not much point in hanging on to it just for the sake of keeping it. So yeah, the emulation of the Master System is absolutely spot on. Right, and my favourite computer, the Commodore 64. This one it emulates, it plays cartridge games, it plays tape games, disc games, is it T64 games as well. And you can see there it's playing Uridium flawlessly. And again, it looks really nice on that screen. But yeah, like I says guys, if you don't have a handheld system for emulators and you've got some extra money, then yeah, by all means you can get yourself an Android. The GPDXD I think is probably the best out there at the moment. I mean, I've got the Nvidia Shield Portable, but they're second hand, they don't make them anymore, although they are excellent. But if you're on a tight budget, if you don't have a spare 150 quid in your back pocket, you could do far worse than picking yourself up a PSP. Don't get the PSP Go, get the PSP Fat or the original shaped one like this. You can either get it doesn't matter what model it is, they all work, whether it's the model 1000, 2000 or 3000. Go into YouTube, you can quite easily stick on the custom firmware, download yourself some ISOs, download some ROMs, and stick on some emulators, and you've got yourself a cracking little system. Yeah, it's not the greatest. I wouldn't recommend it really for the N64. It's probably not the best system for arcade games, although I've got one more system I want to show you in a second. So I wouldn't buy it just for that. But if you want just to be able to emulate SNES, Megadrive, TurboGrafx like PC Engine, the the Commodore 64 Spectrum, NES, any of these systems, this does a cracking job. It really, really does. You know, like I said, you'll get one of these for 25 quid. Get yourself one of the little adapters, cost you 2 quid off eBay. Get yourself a 32 gig card, it'll cost you about, I don't know, £15 off Amazon. So for about 40 quid, you can get yourself one of these, and again, it's a cracking little system. The last system I'm going to let you see here, by the way, is the Neo Geo. There is a version of MAME that I've got in it. It's alright, it does work. Some of the games don't work, some of the games do. But this is the Neo Geo emulator, and I've got to say, it plays pretty well. Let's go for Baseball Stars 2. I'm a massive fan of Neo Geo. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have an original MVS system. It's a lovely system, but it gets emulated absolutely spot on in this thing, as you'll soon see. Again, the screen is glorious. It looks really nice. I love this game. I was hoping that was a home run. I'm going to get caught out. Strike! I'm out again. Right, let's go down. Go down to browser. I think we'll try Metal Slug. Go for the second one, I think. Oop, the camera's going a bit blurred there. Ugh. There we go, it's getting better again. I used to use it on auto focus, but then that's what happens, it goes in and out. But then I did figure out how to put it on manual focus, but I think it must have been set to autofocus for this one. But again, you've got a rough idea of what I'm talking about. It takes a wee while to load. What you have to understand is you're loading an arcade game into a system that came out not much after the arcade game itself, so the fact that you're even able to play a game like Metal Slug on a 13-year-old handheld, I think is pretty spectacular. Again, it looks and plays really well. Figure out how to change. There is an option to change the sort of the liquid that comes out the guy when he gets killed to red, to actually make it blood coloured rather than like water, which it looks like in this. But anyway guys, listen, that is it. If you've got any questions at all about this thing, about putting custom firmware on or anything like that at all, just put your comments below. I'm more than happy to help you. But like I said, there are lots of good tutorials out there on YouTube, and that's what I did. I just did a quick search. There's tons you can watch and will explain exactly what you need, and a lot of them will have a link to the sort of custom firmware as well. But like I said guys, it's not as good as an Android handheld, but for 20-30 quid it does an absolute cracking job. So anyway, enjoy guys, and thanks for watching.